Hey, well, welcome to this part 3 in an epoxy river desk build. If you haven't caught part 1 or 2, let me do a quick recap, catch you up to where we are. First things first, I got a whole lot of epoxy. We're talking 4 to 5 gallons of the stuff. After I had the epoxy in hand, I grabbed a whole bunch of different species of wood, cut them down into little strips, and then arranged them like a giant keyboard. After I had 2 cool looking keyboards, I put them back to each other, put them in a giant form, got some deep pour epoxy, and mixed it all up. Once it was all mixed up, I did a huge pour. The huge pour didn't go so well. There were bubbles, there were cracks, things were kind of bad. It was okay though, not all was lost, so instead what I did is I spent the next 10 hours of my life sanding. Once sanding was done, then I took a walnut frame and I framed in the entire table. Because I'm an idiot and I don't know how to measure, I didn't measure my walnut long enough. I then threw a little temper tantrum. Oh, I'm dumb. Why am I so dumb? But once the temper tantrum was over, I realized I could build a little couple blocks on the end. Everything was saved. Feeling pretty good about my progress, I went ahead and moved forward with what I would call a flood pour. Even though I had sealed all the wood, once I did the flood pour, here's what happened. I got more bubbles. And that pretty much brings you up to speed. If that was a little too quick for you, I highly recommend just check out the video, part 1, and then check out part 2. You can either click on the card above or you can click on the link in the description below. Great videos. I might be a little bit biased, but I think they were quality. So again, just check them out. It will bring you up to where we're at right now. And ultimately, I'd like to tell you that I'm just super excited about this right now, but how to put this? I'm excited at all the things that I've learned, and I've learned a lot, and things that hopefully you can learn by watching this in both the how-to and how not to. At this point, I'm just tired, and I don't really have the time nor the patience, I guess, to make it look perfect. It's my desk, and it's definitely going to be something that I'm never going to forget anyway. So if it was for a customer, I'd probably approach it a little bit differently. But having said all that, I am going to step away from the top for just a little bit, and we are going to flip this bad boy over and finally attack all the things that's going to make this desk not only functional, but just downright cool. So strap in, here we go. It is the final part, part 3. What do you say we finally get this desk done and get it where it needs to be? So here we go. I would lift by the middle part. Okay. And just set it over here and turn it. Yep. And then up. And oh, sorry. Rolling cart. Yep. Just lay her down. There you go. It is a heavy desk. So, thank you. That's what I needed. I'm not gonna lie, getting away from working with the epoxy top for a bit is just what the doctor ordered. And the first order of business is to install this under-table charger. This specific charger is designed to charge a device from 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch away, so it's the perfect distance to hide underneath the table. And I've always dreamed of having the ability to charge a phone like this and go like full Marie Kondo and to keep the smooth, uncluttered look of the table. My only issue that this table is a bit over 1.5 inches thick, so I had to take my trusty Makita trim router and slowly start recessing my way into the desk. The full-size router was just too big to get to the edges without hitting the table legs, so this process, although slow, got me to my eventual depth. I did take the full-size router to route out the interior wood that was supporting the trim router. Even though I knew the exact depth I needed, considering my recent measuring errors, I was totally having this fear that I would blow out the wood in the top and completely ruin the project. But thankfully that didn't happen. I also made sure to cut a plug the same size and depth I needed to keep the charger snugly in place. Then it was just a few screws and a cap, and this charger was installed and ready to go. Next up was to create a contained area for the LED lighting I wanted to install. I want the LEDs in a covered box so the light would come just through the table and not light up my feet under the desk. I'm installing everything under the table with just screws and no glue, and this is by design because if I ever have an electronic component or LEDs go out, I want to be able to get in there and fix it. You may also notice a little hole as well in the wood piece that I'm installing. My thought is to have this same string of LED lights that light up the table to be able to sneak out the back of the desk through my office wall and back up behind the monitors for additional backlighting. This way, one string covers all the lighting that I need. What you're seeing here is the bracing for the PC mount. PCs are heavy and I can't drill into the epoxy itself, so by using these some scrap 3/4 inch ply, I was able to support the PC and not impede on where the LED box was being installed at the same time. Win-win. One of my final tasks under the table was to attach some cable management trays. There are so many cords, and not to mention a dedicated UPS and power strips that I didn't want to have sitting by my feet. The two black trays I found cheap on Amazon, but the middle compartment is going to hold the UPS or uninterrupted power supply. I mean, you can think of it like a huge battery. And I couldn't find anything online that was big enough or strong enough to hold up under this desk. So I just decided to build it myself. I just had to make sure I made it big enough to hold the battery, but not big enough to look stupid under the desk. And with the compartment glued and screwed, I decided to hit it with some black spray paint and some spray poly to seal it. Once it was dried, I installed it with a few screws, and with that, the bottom of the desk was complete. Fun fact, every time I move into a house, this black-topped art desk has served as my temporary workspace. This was actually a high school graduation gift from my cousin and her husband, so thanks Chris and Terry. I never actually used it for what it was intended for, but it certainly was used. And although modern monitors are way lighter than those made a decade ago, I still didn't want to install these into the drywall without into stud or into bracing. And furthermore, I needed to install them in an exact place, and that place may not have a stud. Thankfully, I have a secret room I built behind my office in the attic. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out by clicking on the card on the right. It was a super fun project, and it's the perfect way for me to get access without taking out a bunch of drywall. So this wall mount for the monitor, it's funny, it says don't use anchors, drill it directly into a stud. And yet it came with anchors. That's so dumb. Once the bracing was installed, the rest was a straightforward process of installing not one, but 3 monitors on the wall. Excessive? Yes. But way cool though? Also yes. The last thing on this list was to hide the cords from the PC that are run to the monitors from any sort of view. To accomplish this, I cut a few squares in the wall and installed pass-through plates. These come out from either behind the monitor or underneath the desk, effectively giving me the no-cord look I wanted. Very heavy. Okay. We're gonna get right up to the edge. You're good. Take your time. Okay?
I don't have it.
I'm gonna come over. You're doing great. All good. You okay?
It's so heavy.
The last thing is sanding. Look, you've seen this before, and you may hate watching it as much as I hate doing it. I don't know. All I know is that sanding epoxy sucks. And even with a buffer and polish, nothing ever seems to look as good as right after the flood pour. Like I say, I'm still learning, but instead of more sanding, what do you say let's just get to the final product? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you my take on the Epoxy River desk. Welcome to my updated, new and improved office space. I gotta tell you, this has been a long time coming. Not just the planning, but just a little over a month of work on this on and off. It's been a series of ups and downs, but she's finished and I'm happy. Life is good. It is a cool setup, I'll tell you this. I went ahead and added a little additional ports on the front so I can use the USB or SD cards as I plug in, as well as I've got the under the table charger, which is a really cool feature. So while I'm sitting here working, I can just go ahead and charge my phone and I don't have to see the giant charger out in the way. So it's a very sleek, much more modern look. I have done a much better job of limiting the cables, giving it a nice final look, and just the desk itself, it came out okay in the end. It's just like I say, this is 2 years in the making, and so I couldn't be happier with the fact that this is done, and I have a much more usable space that is very functional and just very feng shui. So with that, I'm going to take a very much deserved break and do some editing. And I'm going to see you on the next one.